toxic masculinity.
Poll finds that liberal media has a disinformation problem. Really? That surprises me. The liberal media has a disinformation problem. That is shocking. That's shocking. Okay, well, let's have a read here from this story. This is from the Daily Caller. Corporate liberal media has a disinformation problem, and polling proves it. Well, I'm glad somebody did a poll on this and tried to do some actual research on this, because everybody knows it's true, but it's nice to have data to back it up. Corporate media outlets have long been accused of promoting misinformation in coverage of major news events. Yeah, we're calling it blue anon, folks. This is the new term, blue anon. It means, conspiracy theorists from the left. Which, by the way, I've talked about this many times, but I'm going to say it again. On the right, we do have conspiracy theories, but they're believed by a sort of fringe group of conservatives who are frankly dismissed by most of the no, you're not going that way. Nope. Frankly dismissed by mainstream conservatives. Some of the crazy conspiracy theory stuff turns out to be true, and then it's accepted by the mainstream conservatives. But for the most part, we dismiss most of the crazy conspiracy theory stuff on the right. The distinction is that with the left, the crazy conspiracy theory stuff is coming from like CNN. It's coming from like the mainstream media, and it's believed by almost all of the voters. Like everybody believes it, like Russian collusion, Jussie Smollett, like Ukraine. What was the one where he said like he said something about soldiers being losers and suckers. Like there's all this stuff that the mainstream media just pumps out, and it's all lies and it's all fake. It's conspiracy theories. And the mainstream media is producing it. It's not like fringe groups. And then you get the mainstream, Democrat voters accepting it and believing it. And so that's the major difference, is that their conspiracy theories are much bigger and much more sinister. And the other big deal is that it's believed by the mainstream Democrats. It's not believed by the fringe. Another thing I think is, God, there's cat hair everywhere now. The other thing I think is kind of annoying about the left is that their fringe is accepted into their I don't know, they're sort of lovingly embraced by the mainstream left. Like if you consider white supremacists to be right wing, which I don't actually consider white supremacists to be right wing, but the left does consider them to be right wing. You have to at least accept that most conservatives dismiss white supremacists as some kind of fringe group that do not share their values. We have different political philosophies. We have different ideas. We're different political groups. The bizarrely tiny group of white supremacists in America have really nothing to do with mainstream conservatism. But Antifa is embraced by the mainstream left. Black Lives Matter is embraced by the mainstream left. Critical race theory and all this crazy, political philosophy of like the far left, communism, socialism, all this stuff, it's all embraced by the mainstream left now. And anyway, so conservatives to me are like the only sane people left in the country. But I'll preach to the choir here. So let's go ahead and read this story. All right. Corporate media outlets have long been accused of promoting Corporate media outlets have long been accused of promoting misinformation in coverage of major news events. And as trust in the media continues to fall, polling data shows just how disconnected liberal media narratives often are from the facts. For the first time in less than half of... Excuse me, I'm starting to get kind of sneezy. I don't know why. I'm not actually allergic to him, but maybe it's just too much cat hair. For the first time, less than half of all Americans said they trust traditional media. God, I don't know why I can't read this, because it's weirdly, I don't know. All right, let me try doing this again. All right. For the first time, less than half of all Americans said they trust traditional media, according to polling data from the communication firm Edelman's, their annual trust barometer. Among those polled, 49. Sorry, God, I can't. I don't know. It's the last story of the day. No, it's not the last story of the day. There's another one. It's the second to last story of the day, and I'm losing it here. Among those polled, 59% of respondents said traditional media is purposely trying to mislead people by saying things they know are false or gross exaggerations. 59%. Finally. We've gotten to a point that, I mean, conclusively people, and this is another indication to me of just how, I don't know. How do I explain this? This is why people are suspicious of the election results in 2020. And to appease Susan Wojcicki and the YouTube gods, let's just say the election in 2020 was totally fair. There was no funny business. Joe Biden won. Totally fair and square. Honest. There was nothing bad ever happened. But the reality is a lot of people don't believe that. And why don't they believe that? Because they know that the media is lying to them. And numbers like this, if 60% of people think the media is lying to you, and they're privy to all this, and nobody was excited for Biden to win, and there were so many people that were so excited for Trump to vote for Trump, I mean, it just seems a little suspicious, doesn't it? So it's natural for a lot of people, I think, to question the validity of the election. But we're not allowed to talk about that on this show, are we? So I guess we'll just have to move on. Let's see here. News coverage of recent trends include the police killing of unarmed black people, the COVID-19 pandemic, and Russia appear to have followed a similar pattern. Corporate media outlets promote false or exaggerated stories, and polling data in turn shows liberals are more likely to believe. Okay, hold on. Sorry. This is written kind of weird. Corporate media outlets promote false or exaggerated stories, and polling data, in turn, shows liberals are more likely to believe in misinformation about those trends. Yeah, no kidding. I love that this poll though. I want to kind of dig in. Maybe I'll do a full video on this from Mr. Reagan. This is great. Let's see here. Police killings. The U.S. experienced nationwide civil unrest last year following the police-involved killings of George Floyd and other black people. Corporate media outlets and racial justice advocates repeatedly claimed that those high-profile incidents proved structural racism in law enforcement, and that police officers were killing unarmed black people at high rates. This is not the best written. Varen Hukari. You got to be a better writer. This is a difficult story to read. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Have I lost my place? There we go. All right. The Washington Post called police violence The Washington Post called police violence is a public health problem. Yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense. That's not a proper sentence. What's your name? Varun? You need to sort out your ability to write here. This is no good. The Washington Post called police violence is a public health problem in a June 2020 story, while other corporate media, including CBS News and the New York Times, used the term pandemic when referring to police killings of unarmed black people. The Skeptic Research Center survey conducted in February found roughly 44% of respondents who identified as liberal or very liberal believed more than 1,000 unarmed black people were killed by police in 2019. Jiminy Christmas. Additionally, 8% of very liberal respondents and 5% of liberal respondents believed that the number was at least 10,000. I think it was something like 10 or something, wasn't it? Yet only 12 unarmed black people were killed by police in 2019, according to a Washington Post database. Okay, 12 of police shootings. Mapping Police Violence and Research, a research and advocacy group, reported a similarly low 27 deaths in this database of police shootings. Look at this. Look at this. Liberal or very liberal people, 44% of them, 44% of liberal or very liberal people believe that 1,000 unarmed black men were killed by police in 2019. More than 1,000. And 8% of them are severely mentally handicapped. Of liberal people or very liberal people, and 5% of liberals are so mentally handicapped they think that it's at least 10,000 black men. And the number is 12, ladies and gentlemen. 12. I mean, you don't get more out of touch than that. That's unbelievable. Okay. Okay, let's see here. COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic is receding in much of the country as Americans are being vaccinated at an accelerated pace, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. But the corporate media outlets are still running misleading stories about the pandemic in states where mask mandates and other restrictions had been lifted in recent weeks. CNN commentator Chris Cizilla called Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott's decision to lift COVID-19 restrictions in early March head-scratching and anti-science. MSNBC contributor Steve Bannon accused Abbott and Republican Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves of pretending the pandemic is over after the two states ended their mask mandates. Pew Research Center polling conducted in February found 83% of Democrats said COVID-19 was a major threat to public health, and compared to 41% of Republicans. Well, 41% of Republicans are wrong. Additionally, 93% of Democrats said large public gatherings should be avoided. 57% of Democrats in states without a mask mandate said there should be more restrictions. Democrats and Republicans also disagreed strongly on whether K through 12 schools should remain closed for in-person learning. According to the Pew Research Center, among those polled, 66% of Democrats supported keeping schools closed compared to just 25% of Republicans. I mean, it's just all about where you get your news, isn't it? I mean, these people are just being lied to. But CDC data shows the number of COVID-19 infections in Texas, Mississippi, and other states have decreased since mask mandates and other restrictions were lifted. Additionally, multiple studies have concluded that schools are not major vectors for COVID-19 infection. And children are far less likely to transmit the disease in school settings. One school district in Ohio has kept all schools open for thousands of students since August and recorded a positivity rate below 2%. Russia. Corporate media's apparent obsession with Russia, including its interference in U.S. elections and alleged collusion with former President Donald Trump's campaign, has produced a seemingly endless list of corrections and retractions. And what about, like, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and their corruption? Like, every time the mainstream media says that this is a conservative conspiracy theory, they're lying. Like, the idea that it's a conspiracy theory on the right, well, that's a conspiracy theory on the left. Every time they accuse us of a conspiracy theory that's not a conspiracy theory, that's a conspiracy theory. All right? I want to just point that out. Hey, buddy. Go away. That's it. Oh my gosh, really? No. All right, we're good. Yeah, okay, well, I'm here. I'll pay you. All right. NBC News warned in an October 2020 story that Russia could interfere in the 2020 election by shutting down the power grid, locking up election computers, and even tampering with voter rolls. An NBC Marist poll conducted in September 2018 found 32% of Americans believed a foreign country would tamper with the election results during the 2018 midterms. A majority of Democrats said the U.S. was not very prepared or not prepared at all to keep these midterms safe and secure. But there was no evidence Russia or any other country manipulated or attempted to manipulate the vote count either in 2016 or 2018 elections, according to NPR. Oh, come on, buddy. Nope. Election officials also said they were worried that an intense focus by the media on Russian election interference was eroding public confidence in the electoral process. The New York Times alleged in a June 2020 report that Russia secretly offered bounties to reward Taliban-linked forces for killing U.S. and coalition troops in Afghanistan. Yeah, that's another conspiracy theory. The Washington Post gave Trump 4 Pinocchios for dismissing allegations that it was fake news, and the top Democrats hyped up the report as an excuse to criticize Trump. But turned out that was all a big lie. A Reuters Ipsos poll conducted in July 2020 found 60% of Americans found the Russia bounty story to be very or somewhat believable. But U.S. officials under the Biden administration said earlier in April, and that's what happens, right? 60% of Americans thought that was true. And now 60% of Americans think that the media lies to them. Well, that's what happens. When you lie to people, they feel like they've been lied to. Shock, I know. But U.S. officials under the Biden administration said earlier in April that the intelligence community only had low to medium confidence that Russia put... Well, I mean, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Come on. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki offered no apology on behalf of President Joe Biden, who also promoted the dubious story. Nor did Joe Biden say anything about it. He just kept hiding or doing whatever he does. All right, that story, that was a really long article, much longer than I had anticipated. So I don't think it's a huge surprise to any of you that the mainstream media lies. So I don't know if there's all that much more to say about it. So let's just move on to the final story, shall we? Because this is a pretty good one. In fact, this is a great story. MIT researchers say that they've discovered that the risk of contracting COVID-19 indoors is the same at 6 feet and 60 feet. Why are you attacking with your tail? Come on. Same risk of contracting COVID at 60 feet and 6 feet. So basically, you can't escape COVID indoors, guys. You can't escape COVID indoors. Their stupid measures are ridiculous and arbitrary and stupid. All right, sorry, I'm on the old story here. Let's move over. All right, so this is the story here. I'm going to pause that. All right. MIT researchers' risk of contracting COVID indoors is the same as 60 and 6 feet. You know, and we knew this when they started the 6 feet thing. We were like, this seems arbitrary. A lot of people were reporting that this was, in fact, just an arbitrary thing. They've just decided 6 feet. And now it's like 3 feet. I think it's been changed to 3 feet. Doesn't make any sense. All this stuff is BS. The risk of contracting COVID-19 indoors is the same whether socially distanced 6 feet apart or 60 feet apart, researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology say. The study, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in the United States of America earlier this month, argues that there isn't much benefit to distancing 6 feet apart. Ideas about coronavirus transmission have changed since the beginning of the pandemic. At the start of the global outbreak, scientists and medical professionals believed that hand washing after touching surfaces was the leading cause of transmission. I think that's probably true still. Toxic Masculinity. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.